Well, it began in the middle of the night. I had cramps in basically in my ankles area and pain in my lower legs. I tried some Aleve and things like that I had here, and nothing seemed to really work. It wasn't so bad during the day because after walking around a little bit, it would subside. But it still felt awkward, and I kind of walked like a drunken sailor. And I wouldn't know whether I would actually stumble. And the whole thing was just unnerving because I couldn't trust my legs. So that's when I went to my GP to find out what's going on here. What do I need? He scripted an MRI. It showed that I had a disc that was protruding into the canal. So my GP, seeing all of these results, knew that I needed to see a neurosurgeon. And so he wrote a script for me to see Dr. Pannu, who is at the Michigan Head and Spine Institute.
He woke up essentially with pain and difficulty walking one day without incident. No trauma, no fracture noted, no car accidents, so forth. It's not an uncommon condition for patients as you get older to have arthritis build up, which we all get, but sometimes that arthritis buildup can result in spinal stenosis, which is a common affliction as we get older. The most classic symptoms is that at rest you're okay. The more you walk, the more numbness and tingling you get. One of the signs we look for is the positive shopping cart sign. You actually bend over on a shopping cart and you have to walk for distances. By doing that, otherwise if you stand straight up, your legs will get weak and you have to find a place to sit down, or you may even potentially collapse if you don't sit somewhere. And this model represents the 5 lumbar vertebral bodies: lumbar 1, lumbar 2, lumbar 3, lumbar 4, lumbar 5, and the sacrum. And these are the joints in the back called the facet joints. And you have right side, left side, spinous processes as well. This is what we all kind of feel when we push on our back, in the middle of our back. So these joints over time can build extra calcium or bone. And by doing that, they narrow the canal which the nerves run through. When they do that, the only way people will get relief is by bending over. This is the front. So by bending over, you're opening up the spinal canal. So in order to relieve the pressure, what we do, it's a procedure called laminectomy. It's been around for decades. It's a very common procedure, especially in the older patient population. A laminectomy, essentially, you're using a high-speed drill in order to cut some of the bone off, and you're essentially unroofing it. And by unroofing it now, if you look at this canal again, if I remove that, I've given it space. But if you look at this space up here, there is cerebral spinal fluid, which is the white fluid around this tubular structure, which is the spinal cord. Now, as you get further down, this area starts to develop lots of this sort of darker areas, which is a spinal arthritis, or spondylosis, we call it. And that's narrowing off the spinal canal. So, as I mentioned before, you have to unroof the back part in order to give this space. So essentially, you want to create what is up here down in this area. The worst areas for Gerry were L2, L3, L4, and L5, which is the area where we opened up. One of the symptoms that Gerry was suffering from the most was his left leg. It would wake him up in the middle of the night. He would have to walk around. It would afflict him even on short walks. This is one of the main concerns for Gerry. And when I do these procedures, I make sure that I open up the area for the nerves so that after the procedure, you don't have these symptoms anymore. And he does not.
It's quite simple. He just did a masterful job. And my mom had a lot of surgeries due to x-ray treatments that were done back when they didn't know. And she had this gentleman who they called the man with the golden hands. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Pannu is equally a man with the golden hands. And I told him so. I think what he did for me was just awesome. And can't get any better.